Okay, so during the Chicago Comic Con weekend, I decided to go see The Collector. Okay. You know, these people who are working on Saw 7. I said Saw 7, 6 isn't out yet, but Saw 7 is, I guess, going to be in 3D, and the people who are working on it are the ones who did, you know, The Collector. So it had a very Saw-esque vibe to it. And I was like, you know, why not give it a shot? The opening credit sequence is like a really bad Nine Inch Nails video where you get a bunch of like random flashy images and this heavy bass. I was like, alright, fine. Now, if you've seen any trailers for the movie, essentially it's somebody going to rob a house, but the people who own the house are kind of being like kidnapped and tortured by a guy called The Collector, who collects people. But he tends to use the person he collects from his previous job as bait in his next job. So it'd be like, if you were to capture me, then he would use me as bait in his next collection. I mean, the worst thing about seeing a movie is when you don't care at all, and there's really no motivation for the villain character. And you kind of go, alright, fine, let's watch it. You know, this family's getting their house renovated on, and the person who's going to rob them is doing some renovation. You know, he goes to a strip club because that's where everyone goes to meet with, you know, their the guy to help him, you know, line up a job. So there's most continuity right there in the movie. And he's like, man, you know, they've got this really awesome gem. I need to steal it. You know, I'll bring it back. You need to cash it out tonight so I can pay, so I get some money, because my wife and my daughter own a loan shark money, and he like has to have cash for them by midnight. Okay. So by the time he breaks back into their house, you know, it's been maybe, I'll go a long time. I'll say everyone left at 5. He's up at like 11. So I'll give 6 hours for all the traps get set up, all the additional locks we put on doors. You know, all the bizarre Rube Goldberg style traps set up. You could probably do it in 6 hours. Because the person who's doing the killing was also there earlier in the day. He was one of the people doing work on the house. Alright. And here's where the movie just kind of falls apart. Because essentially all it is a cat and mouse game between the robber and the killer. And the killer's like booby trapped so many different rooms, so many different areas. And every time you run into, like, you know, oh man, there's the dad. He gets killed off screen. Alright, there's the mom. She gets killed off screen. Alright, you know, the older daughter's back. She shows boobs, then she dies. So you see her death on screen. Her boyfriend falls into like a room full of bear traps. His death on screen. You know, the previous person that he used, you see his death on screen. Alright. So you got like 3 deaths on screen, 2 deaths off screen. And you've got like one, I would say mildly decent torture scene with everyone going, man, I thought I was watching Hostel. You know, the torture scenes in Hostel were fairly brutal. In this one, I mean, you know, you see him like stab a guy a couple of times. You see him like, you know, break out a tooth with a wood chisel. You know, use fish hooks in a dude's hand to like suspend him so he can't break free. But if you're at a fish stuck in your skin, you can just kind of pull yourself free. You know, I mean, it. You felt some empathy for, you know, the thief, who was also like the good guy. But when you don't care at all about the villain, it reminded me very much like movies like The Strangers. The Strangers, you had a lot of decent setup, but since you really didn't know any motivation for the villains, it was like, oh, they're doing this because they're crazy, or they're doing this because he collects people. And then with all the other characters, you're like, you know, I feel empathy for one character, because, you know, he's trying to make ends meet. He's going to rob somebody to get the money that he needs to help, you know, his wife and kid. But the movie is a little shy under an hour and a half. It's an okay movie, I mean, I personally feel cheated having actually paid money to go see it. I mean, it wasn't a very good movie, which makes me kind of fearful for the future of the Saw franchises. So, The Collector, if you're bored, it's not that bad of a movie. Don't go in there expecting it to be anything fantastic or awesome. They were like, man, it's this brutal gore fest. And, Saw has more blood. Saw has better traps. Hostel had better torture scenes. Out of mainstream. And a lot of people talk about something they saw in Japan. Out of mainstream. So all in all, Price, this is one of the, like, I went in there going, it should be pretty good. There's a decent amount, a little bit of hype to it, and it was just meh.